Sony just released the new ZV1 Mark II, and people are
pissed!
Let's check it out. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Mike Hall, and I write and make videos about photography and productivity. If you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. So the ZV1 Mark II is the predecessor to the original ZV1 Mark I, or the predecessor to the ZV1F, depending on how you want to look at it. It is Sony's newest point-and-shoot style video-centric camera designed for vloggers and content creators. In terms of the ZV1 lineup, it is dwarfed by its bigger older brothers, the ZVE10 and the ZVE1. The ZV line of cameras with their fixed lenses make them perfect all-in-one solutions when compared to the ZVE10 and the ZVE1. Its intuitive features, size, and cost make it a perfect camera for anyone just picking up a dedicated camera for the first time. So there are a few upgrades to this camera when compared to the ZV1 Mark I. However, there are some obvious downgrades when compared to the ZV1 Mark I as well, but we'll get into that in a bit. The most notable upgrade is the 18 to 50mm full frame equivalent lens. I personally think this is the most impressive upgrade considering who this camera is marketed to. The original ZV1 Mark I sported a 24 to 70mm full frame equivalent lens, which I, and later Sony admitted, was not wide enough on the wide end for vloggers. Sony eventually fixed this with the release of the Sony ZV1F and its fixed 20mm full frame equivalent prime lens, giving vloggers some additional space to fit in their beautiful faces. Also, several aftermarket wide-angle adapters were created for the ZV1 Mark I, further solidifying the need for wider lenses in the future. Sony brought over the same 3-capsule microphone from the ZV1 Mark I. However, the ZV1 Mark II allows the user to set which direction audio will be recorded from. This means the camera will pick up audio and record sound from in front, or behind, or bi-directional, depending on what the user's shooting style is. This feature is nice if you want to alternate which direction you are recording audio from. We now also get AI-controlled sound, in which the camera can change which direction audio is recorded automatically. We also see the addition of the cinematic vlog setting, which is carried over from the flagship ZVE1. This gives the user a wide range of creative presets in camera without the fuss of having to manipulate different camera settings. This is a definite advantage for new users who may not be familiar with manipulating different camera settings to achieve a desired look. The ZV Mark II also has different touchscreen features that make it seem more smartphone-like. Another pro for new camera users making the jump from a smartphone to a dedicated vlogging camera. Finally, we are excitedly getting USB-C. Yay! Okay, so why is everyone upset with this release? Well, for starters, this does not seem like an upgrade to the original ZV1 Mark I. Sure, we're getting a wider lens and some additional audio features, but beyond that, this is basically the same exact camera. In some cases, it's actually worse. Let's take a look. As I stated before, the camera industry seems to think wider is better when it comes to vlogging lenses. The addition of the 18mm focal length on the wide end is great. However, we are now coming up short on the telephoto side. In the Mark I version, we had reach out to 70mm. Now with the Mark II, we only have reach out to 50mm. For some, this may not be a big deal, but it's definitely a downgrade in my opinion. Also, the Mark I had aperture ranges from f1.8 to f2.8, making it better in low light and allowing for more shallow depth of field. Now with the Mark II, we see the aperture values fall to f1.8 to f4. So now when shooting at longer focal lengths, your max aperture value is less than what it would have been with the Mark II. Another notable downgrade. The removal of optical image stabilization is a huge blow to vloggers. I imagine this was either a cost-cutting exercise or just not possible due to the wider focal length. In either case, this leaves image stabilization in the hands of just active stabilization or digital crop. When engaged, your 18mm lens feels more like a 23mm lens, thus negating the differences between the optically stabilized Mark I with its 24mm lens and the Mark II. Another absent feature from this upgrade are new video shooting features. Most notably, we are missing 4K 60. I would consider 4K 60 to be standard across most, if not all, video-centric cameras these days. For example, Most action cameras and smartphones have the ability to shoot in 4K 60. The fact that Sony left it out of this new body is disappointing to say the least. This could have been because of heat management issues when shooting at 4K 60. Perhaps the older sensor carried over from the Mark I, which is kind of also a disappointment, could not support it. Or if I could put my conspiracy hat on for a moment, perhaps Sony wanted users wanting 4K 60 to purchase more expensive camera options. Another video feature that was not included in the Mark II was 10-bit video. While you are able to record in different log modes, the camera only records in 8-bit color depth. Once again, more and more cameras are also moving to feature 10-bit recording. The smaller and cheaper GoPro 11 and DJI Action 3 both are capable of recording in 10-bit. It seems odd that Sony, a company who specializes in video cameras, would not include this feature to remain competitive in the market. So whether or not you want to buy or upgrade to the ZV1 Mark II really comes down to your need for a wide-angle lens. If you are a hardcore vlogger who spends most of their time hand-holding a camera in front of your face, then the 18mm focal length on the Mark II is going to greatly benefit you. Now yes, there are some obvious downsides to this lens, namely the reduced aperture values and the telephoto focal length. But if you are only concerned with wide-angle vlogging shots, then the 18mm with 1.8 aperture is going to be more than enough. Now if you're thinking about using this camera for any application other than vlogging, like a travel or family video camera, then you may be better off with the Mark I or even the ZV1F. The 24 to 70mm full-frame equivalent lens gives you that extra reach when you're unable to get close to a subject or a scene. I can imagine certain travel scenarios or sporting events where crowds of people or barriers make it hard to approach a scene, and that would make that 70mm focal length way more appealing. Also, when shooting in low-light scenarios, the f2.8 aperture would help a lot more than the f4 in the Mark II. Optical image stabilization is also handy when recording while walking, while still maintaining the desired focal length. Also, the ZV1 Mark I can be found used for a great value. I've seen prices range from the low 400s to 600s. When compared to the Mark II's price tag of $900, that's a steal. If you're looking to do some vlogging and want a cheaper wide-angle option, then the ZV1F might be a good solution. While not as wide as the 18mm on the Mark II, it is potentially wide enough for some. Yes, there is also no optical image stabilization in the ZV1F, but for the low used price of around $350 to $400, this camera is a real bargain. So is the new Sony ZV1 Mark II for you, or is it a flop? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you find videos like these helpful, please consider subscribing. Also, check out more of my work and articles on photography on my website, theproductivephotog.com. See you guys in the next one.